Before we begin this week's Book of Hours podcast, I wanted to tell you about an incident that took place with me yesterday. This should give you pause for thought when you're thinking about the lockdown and how it's affecting certain people and their health. 2 weeks ago, so before I tell you what happened yesterday, I'll tell you what happened 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I got really bad sunburn, 2 degree, maybe 3 degree sunburn. So the kind of sunburn where when you peel it, it's still red. Mm-hmm. So we loaded up on everything we could find to fix me up, and the very next day, I was walking and I sort of collapsed, my ankle twisted. I was on a pristine sidewalk, so there was nothing to really trip on, but because I'm me and I fall, so my ankle twisted and I fell. So on top of this like 3rd degree sunburn now, I had like the worst gash in my knee that you've ever seen. That was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And as of yesterday, it had pretty much healed up.
It was definitely,
it was, everything was going fine. The sunburn is getting better. It's barely peeling anymore. The gashed up knee is all better. Everything's good. So we decided to go on a bike ride just for like an hour or so. Nothing big. We have a lot to do for Book of Hours, but we wanted to get outside and enjoy the beautiful day.
Right, and especially on a nice holiday weekend. The weather was gorgeous this weekend for us.
But because of my autoimmune illness and because of whatever other circumstances were involved with getting ready yesterday, I was at the top of the stairs getting ready to walk down the stairs, and I guess my ankle twisted again. Just so you know, I have like really bad arthritis in all my toes and my ankles. Just before COVID, back in February, I had my feet x-rayed and my ankles x-rayed, and the podiatrist said, the podiatrist said, he'd never seen such a bad case of arthritis and little broken toes. So surprisingly, my toes aren't mangled looking, but I do have lots of little breaks in my toes, which makes my balance really unsteady. I'm really unsteady on my feet. So what happened yesterday was my ankle twisted at the top of the stairs, and I fell down the stairs, but I didn't just fall down the stairs. My head hit, there's 15 stairs, my head hit probably about 10 of them, so it was dunk, 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 dunk. My head bounced off the stairs. So I have contusions and bumps and a sore head all over the place. I probably had a concussion because I was feeling really nauseous and just really out of sorts and really upset, as I'm sure he can tell you.
Yeah.
I was really upset, and the whole right side of my body is completely sore. It feels like someone took a baseball bat to my back and arm and legs, and my knee, which was healing up quite nicely, is now the wound is open again. It's a big gash, and so here we are.
Well, at least
again.
it's just one knee, because last time it was 2 knees. Now, your other knee is healed up.
My other knee barely, when I fell the day after I got the bad sunburn 2 weeks ago, my other knee barely got affected, barely got scraped.
But it was still bloody.
So I wish I had a really cool story to tell you, like I was at some, anti-mask protest and, got mangled by 10 police and got beat up, and that I'm this brave, awesome citizen. But I guess what I'm trying to tell you is that there are people who are suffering, a lot as a result of the lockdown, and it has nothing to do with an invisible virus. It has to do with whatever their pre-existing conditions are, and they're, I haven't been able to go to physical therapy for almost 6 months, which means that my balance is off, which means that, my muscle strength is going down. I mean, I do what I can here at the house, but I really need physical therapy, and all physical therapy is closed, and all pool therapy is closed. I really thrive in pool therapy as well, and I haven't been able to do that. So as a result, there's been like numerous falls since the lockdown.
Well, and we do have some exercise equipment that we purchased to, continue our exercise here at the house. And unfortunately, when Julie gets injured, she can't do that, so it just compounds the issue
Right.
over
So
and over again.
it's like I have to wait till I heal up,
Yeah.
and then I can go back to doing whatever at-home exercises we have. But one of the things I did want to mention that really helps me feel very good very quickly, believe it or not, is arnica tea. I feel like I'm doing an ad for
Right.
for something, but I'm telling you, like, with someone who has like chronic pain all the time,
Yeah.
we have boxes of this stuff, and I drink it whenever I have chronic pain, and especially when there's bruising and injury and trauma and contusions, all over my head. So I was taking yesterday. I took some arnica gel. So you can buy arnica gel like anywhere. You could probably buy it at Rite Aid or any.
You can, yeah. They're starting to carry it at those drugstores like Walgreens and Rite
Yeah,
Aid
they're
and places,
carrying
yeah.
more homeopathic stuff, so you can buy it anywhere. What I was doing yesterday to help with the pain in my head, because my head bounced
Yeah.
off and we have wooden steps. I mean, there is a rubber stopper, but it's really hard.
Yeah, there's rubber treads at the
Rubber
edge.
treads,
yeah, on
but
each corner, but
it's still really
that
hard.
absorbs some of the some of it, but not all of it.
Yeah.
No, you were,
No.
and then at the bottom of the stairs we have a
coat
rack, which is made out of a truck brake drum, which is the base, and then gas pipe. And so I have a feeling that she also. Oh, I was afraid that she also hit her head on that on the way, on the very last below. I hope not, because I didn't see any bleeding though. So I mean,
There was no bleeding.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there,
It's all just like indented
Yeah.
and misshapen.
Oh, man.
And there's pain like right here.
In case you're asking, I was in the kitchen filling up our water bottles for the bike
to get
ride.
ready to go for the bike
Yeah.
ride.
Yeah.
So I put some arnica gel on the tips of my fingers, and I rubbed it into my skull for all day yesterday while I was recovering.
Yeah.
So I would say that if you do ever find yourself at a protest or in some kind of situation where you have serious trauma to your body, like say the cop has taken the stick and hit you over the head and you have a bad contusion, first thing is obviously you want to ice it, because I was iced from head to toe yesterday.
Yeah.
Pretty much all day and all night.
Yeah.
But then I also put the arnica gel right on the contusions itself, and I drank a lot of tea for any internal bruising that
Right.
that I was. Oh, that's the Spanish side.
Yeah,
This is the
so
English side.
yeah, the Spanish side. So by the way, you're not going to find that at Whole Foods or any sort of health food store. They're just not going to carry. They carry the other arnica products, but I've never seen it in the health stores, right, or the organic food stores. I found it in a Spanish or Mexican grocery store. Mercado. This box we bought in Chicago, but you can also find it online. But that's where I found this tea. Originally, it was in San Francisco. I went into a Mexican grocery and that's where I found it. And the first time I tried it, I had some serious bodily injury. I think I took a spill on my bike and I drank it, and I was like amazed at how it helped internally. So
it helps the healing process.
The only thing you have to worry about or watch with this stuff is you don't want to drink too much of it, because it can be a little toxic. And I think that might be why they don't, carry it at those stores. But
I wouldn't drink it unless you're in pain.
Yeah.
Don't drink it just to be like, oh, I'm gonna have a cup of tea.
Right. Yeah.
You have other teas
it's
for
medicine,
that.
Yeah.
This is for like serious pain and
trauma.
And
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, yeah. So that's
that.
our health tip for the day, and our warning also. Just I think the other thing that I'd like to say about this is along the lines of what Julie was saying is that this situation with the lockdowns and with the emergency orders and the mask wars, all this stuff is causing a lot of anxiety and anger and tension, and I was definitely off my game the other day. I was just not thinking straight. I was on autopilot, but not really doing things right, forgetting things and that kind of situation. So just try to stay focused and in the present. We both struggle with that. I think everybody does. And I think that a lot of what was going on with Julie was just the anxiety and tension,
Yeah, well, I also think that, it took a lot of
energy out there, yeah.
For it took a lot of energy for me to heal up from the previous injury. So it was like, if you have an autoimmune illness, then you would understand that sometimes your body, when it heals from injury, it becomes depleted, and so you need to rest in order to fill back up. And I was like, oh, I'm great. My sunburn is better. My knee is practically healed 100% almost. And then, of course, that's just the physical aspect of it, so there's also an emotional aspect to it. There's there's been a lot of attacks on our YouTube page. There's just been attacks in general all over social media, like there always is, from people we like, from people we don't know, and that is like psychic energy that also punches you.
I guess that's what I was getting at. I'm so sorry.
And if you're somebody like me who I know, if you're somebody like me
can't touch my wife now.
who it takes a lot of energy and a lot of focus to heal up from actual physical injury, the psychic energy that is out there, whether you engage with it or not, depletes from the energy that you need for yourself, which goes completely against this sort of like communitarian common good bullshit that's being peddled to us, night and day, because through the lens of COVID, it's like, I'm sure someone's going to listen to this and be like, how dare you, say that you need your own strength for yourself. You should be strong for your healthy neighbors.
Right.
Who have, who've been concussed and are covered in bruises. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so
anyway,
send good thoughts and nice messages to Julie.
And
drink your tea.
Drink your tea. Drink your arnica tea if you're in pain.
Yeah, but you might want to get some before you get hurt, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Get some before you get hurt.
Yeah.
Just to have on hand.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And I've been using the arnica external gels and creams for decades. It's I swear by it. It's good stuff. Yeah.
And the little pellets you put under your tongue.
Yeah, the homeopathic pellets work too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So now we can begin, Bookmark.
Yeah.
Thank you for tolerating us for the first couple of minutes here.
And now, a video. That was some I don't know.
some weirdness.
So that's Extinction Rebellion out there doing demonstrations in how to dance with plastic bags. Interpretive dance, maybe, I don't know, but it's Extinction. So Extinction Rebellion is back, and now they have plastic bags, and they're telling us we're bad because we have plastic bags. I remember when San Francisco banned those kind of bags, but they didn't come up. So here's the deal: it's like nobody comes up with an alternative for things that they get rid of. And I was glad to see them go because you'd always see them caught in trees and stuff. But at the same time, I don't know. Grocery stores now accept them for recycling. Whether they get recycled or not is another story. But I think that's beside the point. Right, that's the Extinction Rebellion going plastic bags, when really what's going on is they are back and they're overlapping with BLM, and we saw this coming back in May or June that they would be back probably this autumn.
COVID gives a nice entrance to Extinction Rebellion.
Yeah.
It opens the door for Extinction Rebellion to come in and say, that so not only are you now a vector for an invisible disease that could kill everybody that you meet, but now you are a carbon-based vector that's going to kill the planet.
Right.
So it's a nice transition.
Right. So you are personally responsible for the fact that there's these plastic bags out in the world, and so you better make sure that you keep track of all of your bags. But you're also responsible for the ones that are still manufactured by capitalism, right? So companies that keep making these things, you're responsible for making sure that all those bags that they produce are collected and not get out into the environment. This is such bullshit. And they are financed through lots of NGO money, lots of corporate money. These people are not a grassroots organization like you think they are. They are AstroTurf. And just like Black Lives Matter, they are not a grassroots organization. They are not what they seem to be.
Explain AstroTurf.
AstroTurf is a term that's out there. It's sort of like, it's the equivalent of like greenwashing. Okay, so
Explain
AstroTurf.
Greenwashing. There are people that may not know.
All right, so look it up. No, AstroTurf is basically, I mentioned the word grassroots. Okay, so a grassroots organization or grassroots movement is from the ground up, right?
It's authentic.
It's authentic, yeah. It's people getting together to fight something against maybe corporate tyranny or whatever.
Right, or fighting against government mandates for wearing masks.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually grassroots.
That's grassroots.
That's actually real. There are no corporations that are
AstroTurf,
sponsoring that.
on the other hand, is a made up movement that appears to be grassroots, but is really being sponsored through corporate funding or through other means, Soros money, those kinds of things.
Your taxes.
Your taxes. It's being sponsored, and it is completely coordinated by third parties. And it gets people to get on board. Like, for instance, both BLM and Extinction Rebellion are joined by well-meaning individuals who really feel like the message is positive and that it's something that they can get behind. But what's really going on is they are being used by the corporations and the organizations and the government agencies that are behind the oppression or the situation that these organizations are supposedly protesting against in the first place. Okay, so much like Greta, and I expect we will see Greta Thunberg again soon before the year is out, these are movements and people and spokespersons and groups that are pushing an agenda that is basically a giant psyop. Okay. I remember back, a year or two ago, when Extinction Rebellion was first coming on the scene, and a video commentator who no longer works under this name, under his own name or original name, was talking about how Extinction Rebellion was training people to get arrested by the police.
Bring Stim back.
Yeah, Stimulator. We would love to see Stimulator come back. But anyway, so he was talking about this, how, it's like, that's fucked up. It's like, okay, you're training people on how to be arrested, okay?
That's not good.
As opposed to, actually going out and doing grassroots type of organizing, some effective means of protesting against, in their case, it's an environmental movement. So, Greenpeace, Extinction Rebellion,
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. I'm thinking of like the green organizations. 350.org. All of these organizations are funded through corporations and other organizations via the World Economic Forum and other means to get us to think that we are responsible actually, and not the corporations.
Right.
They are the groups that are pushing the environmental movement to a capitalist solution to environmental problems. So replacing the idea of trees and tree huggers and all that with windmills and solar panels. So we're creating a situation where capitalist industrial solutions to solve capitalist industrial problems.
Can I talk about
Sure.
how the straw transitions into the mask?
Yeah. Let's talk about the straw. So a couple of years ago, the straw. You talk about it.
Yeah, the straw situation was
Drinking straws.
Right. So the plastic straws that you would get with your Starbucks or McDonald's or wherever you go and get your to-go drink, you would get a plastic straw. And so the Psyop, or the psychological marketing operation behind that, was to tell you that you were a bad person for for using a straw. But what I noticed was that straws were never really truly taken away.
No.
But much like the mask, it was part of social shaming, and there was a lot of, TED Talks and NPR reports and all sorts of things that made you feel like a terrible human being for using a plastic straw, that you were killing baby dolphins,
Right.
and all this.
And
In
sea
fact,
turtles, yeah.
and never once did you ever hear the mechanisms by which the straws were created, the plastics that they would need to make the straws, and the pollution in the air to make the straws and all that. Never would you hear that the corporations would be told, hey, look, maybe you should make them a different way that's more environmentally sound. The only thing you ever heard was,
It's your responsibility.
it's your responsibility as the consumer,
Right.
and that it's your fault as the consumer.
Right. So once again, personal responsibility being pushed onto the consumer.
So what this really was, it wasn't about straws. This was never about straws, which are fine. It was never about straws. What it really was to introduce you to the idea of what it feels like to be socially shamed for the common good, or for the planet. And so I remember being trapped in a car a couple of years ago with my husband and two very toxic, noxious individuals, obnoxious, toxic, not very bright, Pittsburgh, just like going on and on and on about how we were terrible human beings, because we kept saying, well, why don't we blame the corporations? Why don't we blame the trillion-dollar capitalists who are not only creating this giant marketing campaign to shame us, to publicly shame us, but also putting pollutants in the air with the way that they make the straws? Why don't we start at the beginning? And then once the consumer comes into it, the consumer can make a choice whether they want to, have the good straw, the bad straw, whatever. So, but None of that. Corporations, according to these two Pittsburghers, corporations are perfect, can do no wrong, and it's all up to the individual.
Right. Yeah.
And it was all about individual shaming
and personal responsibility,
looking out for the common good, and all that stuff that we're hearing now.
And saying, well, you've got to keep track of your trash, and you've got to be responsible for how you put your trash out. And it's like, well, but have you ever seen trash get picked up? Especially in Pittsburgh, I've seen it. And, once that trash is out of your hands and it's in the hands of some other organization or individual, you don't have any control over that anymore. And those straws could get, strewn about, however, And I even offered the solution of the cradle to cradle solution, where it's like, well, what if a company made straws out of plastic that was biodegradable? Oh, no, it's all up to the individual for taking care of their trash. Okay, so
yeah, it just was a big public shaming,
exactly,
terrible thing.
And so the mask is sort of along the same line.
Right. So the straw introduced you to the idea that you are a terrible, obnoxious person who drinks out of plastic straws. And so you got used to that, and you absorbed it, and
you made changes.
And you made the changes, and they made a big marketing campaign out of it. In fact, they made a for-profit industry out of cute little paper straws with the swizzle stick look on them,
or
metal straws. If you're like JP and me, and we totally fell for it at the time, we went to Crate and Barrel and bought our our eco-correct metal straws, which are very streamlined, very adult. So they made a whole bunch of money based on this public shaming campaign. What else are they doing? How else are they making money based on a public shaming campaign that introduces you to this idea that if you don't put on a mask, then you're killing everybody in sight. Oh, and you can go get that cute one for $150 at that really high-end boutique.
Right.
Or you could go to Target and buy a pack for $25.
Right.
Or this, all of a sudden, there's, you've seen them on your social media feed, all of the ads for the masks and the different companies that make the different masks.
Right.
It's the same kind of narrative that we saw with the straws. I bet you, if you go back into the Wayback Machine in your head and you go back to the straw dialogue, I bet you your Facebook feed was just filled with ads for small little, companies that were just starting out, that were creating biodegradable straws.
Or glass straws.
Or
stainless steel straws.
Really cool straws. Just like you've got all these boutique-y, like little online stores now selling really great masks.
Right.
So it's not about health for the environment, and it's certainly not about health for you, especially with the mask. They all say in the small print, oh yeah, this is not a medically approved mask.
Right.
This is just a mask.
Yeah.
And
so it's just another revenue stream. And I've noticed that,
another revenue
like
stream.
there's a company, I get their emails because I bought a couple of their cycling caps. I like their cycling caps. And hey, they just opened up a new revenue stream by making masks, and they make masks for children, and they make masks for summer wear, and they make masks. Bullshit.
Right.
That's bullshit.
So that's what that's about, and this whole thing with Extinction Rebellion coming back into the conversation now, or transitioning from COVID into this eco shaming stuff that you're going to see. Most likely, you're going to see, other revenue streams coming up all over the place that are going to be an outward visible purchase that you'll make to show that you're a good person and you don't want to be socially shamed. So that's what the outward sign of the mask shows, that you are, you're telling the public that you are looking out for the common good, and so you're going to get a little pat on the head. The outward metal straws or the paper straws or the glass straws or that your favorite artisanal bar would offer you is another way that they were showing an outward sign of their duty to ecology and their duty to the planet. So this is really all just about how you feel. How do you feel? It's all about making you feel better.
Or worse.
But one thing that I don't know, did you want to show the clip of the Black Lives Matter?
In a minute here.
Okay.
Yeah. I wanted to get into something else first and transition into that.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and just the final note on the straw thing. What reminded Julie and I about this, we were watching the latest season of Shameless, which is on Netflix, not the one that's on whatever cable. Showtime. That it's on, but the one
it's actually
that's
a
now,
British show that.
Yeah, no, I know that, but the American version that's now available on Netflix, it's from a couple of years ago, right? So, but the whole straw dialogue came up in that, and I'm like, wow, that shows
like from the way back.
Yeah, exactly. So, and this one girl was shaming the other girl for using a straw and going the whole 9 yards on the dialogue or the monologue, actually.
You know what? And just, what's really interesting is I believe that show was originally aired on Showtime right about the time that we were in the car.
Probably.
With those two toxic individuals, because I'm not kidding. The language that the person who we were in the car with was the same language from the girl in the Netflix show. And I'm thinking to myself, and that's why it triggered us, because I was like,
yeah.
I wonder if she just had seen that show, happened to see us, and then got into this whole because she used the exact same terminology.
And we weren't using straws or anything at the time. And the other thing is it's like, I've been an environmentalist for as long as I can remember, and for somebody like her to be
never met him before.
Lecturing me on this shit was very insulting.
Oh, she doesn't know him. But isn't that the way?
And that's the way it is.
But isn't that the way that life is on social media? People don't know who the fuck I am. They don't know who the fuck JP is. They don't know what our background is, where we come from, what our situation is, what our concerns are, what our personal issues are. They don't know personal, struggles are. They don't know anything about us, but they make these sweeping, randomized assumptions about us. And a lot of sweeping, randomized assumptions are being made about other people as well. And it's just like, you people are just awful.
So this is a good transition. So we posted a video from Naomi Wolf, who's a very controversial figure out there because of things she's written or said or done in the past. What's that?
My fan.
What's that?
My fan.
Yeah. And so we posted a video from Naomi Wolf, who's a controversial figure because of things she said or written or whatever. She's one of those people that get other people's hackles up. depending on your position. Now, our position is that she revisited something that she had written about 10 years ago, called the 10 Steps to Fascism, and she was talking about this and how we are now getting into step 10.
We're in it.
Yeah, we're in it. And she was talking about this, and the problem we ran into was
this was on Facebook.
This was on Facebook.
If Naomi is watching, this was on Facebook.
Yeah. Now the problem we ran into, and we've already talked to our friends about this, but is that we put up this information thinking people would pay attention to the 90% of the information that was in the content of the video, and because she came out and was very partisan politically in the video, and attacking the president or whatever, she and using liberal talking points, everybody latched onto that. And we have people from all sides of the spectrum of the political spectrum on our Facebook feed, and our people who watch us and all that kind of thing. And we don't play the partisan politics, so we weren't paying attention to that. But I actually did pay attention to it from the standpoint of this is not going to help her get her argument out there. But anyway, the fascism is what we were focusing on, and nobody paid attention to that. And if they did, they felt like it was incorrect for some reason. Now, a couple of the things that she talks about in this is there are going to be food shortages, which we've already seen when the COVID thing hit, and power outages, which again we've also seen, but we're starting to see these things again. So somebody posted a photo on Facebook, and we can't find it, so we can't show it to you here, but it was a photo of like a Walmart with empty shelves. Now, I don't know if this was a current photo, if it was something back, but I have a feeling it was current, because the person was saying, are we looking at another, possible lockdown?
Another situation like we had at the entrance of COVID.
Right.
When all of a sudden, and of course I think a lot of the empty shelves was a manufacturer.
Absolutely, and I think it's being manufactured again.
Yeah.
But these food shortages, I believe, are going to be manufactured, as are the power outages. And now we're seeing power outages in throughout California, Southern California, Northern California. I've been getting notices from that toxic social media outfit called Nextdoor. There are notices from PG&E to San Franciscans about rolling blackouts. And we heard somebody else do a video about a rolling blackout that was going on in Southern California. And so we're telling you that these things are coming, and that you need, despite what you feel about a given content creator or somebody who's a commentator, pay attention to maybe what you don't think is being said, or get past what you disagree with, and try to figure out if what they're saying links up or syncs up with other things that you observe out there in the world. And what we're observing is that we are in step 10, and these things are starting to occur. By the way, again, the toilet paper shortage, that was manufactured.
Totally manufactured, not real.
The food.
If you were paying attention to what happened in Venezuela, you would know this.
So these are things that are occurring, but again, they're not organic. These are things that are being manufactured, and
right.
So. And so what we're, the other thing that we're seeing, the other thing that she mentioned, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I'd like to talk more about Naomi Wolf when you're done.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead and talk to her, because I think the last thing that she mentioned transitions into our next point. So go ahead and talk about her a little bit.
Well, I guess what I want to say is that it was so strange because she comes out with this video that she's like, look, there are people that have been asking me to address the book that I wrote in 2007, or the article that was written. I first saw it in The Guardian, and I posted it and everything, but so she wanted to address that. She wanted, because people were saying, well, where are we there yet? I mean, are we in step 10 now? And so she wanted to formally come out. First of all, when you are somebody who is offering this information, you are either going to be, there's a couple of different ways you're going to be about offering the information. If you're somebody like Computing Forever, who's out of Ireland, I think, you're going to be super reactionary. It's going to hit all of your emotional buttons, and he's going to be reactionary.
Right, especially if you're on the conservative side.
Right, especially if you're on the conservative side. Okay, so if you're somebody like that, you'll be reactionary. If you're somebody like us, you'll be like, well, okay, we're in fascism. Anyway, you know.
Right. Well, and these are the signs, and these are the things you might want to consider. And, yeah.
Somebody like Naomi Wolf was super uncomfortable about having to address this. It almost felt like she was doing it sort of not against her will, but beside herself. Like, I really don't want to do this. I've been putting it off. I could see the struggle in her. I could see it in her. I could see her for weeks before actually making the video going, I don't want to do this, going back and forth, maybe talking to her husband, maybe talking to friends. I really don't want to do this. It's going to cause it's going to either blow up, or it's going to cause all sorts of problems. People are already going through enough. I don't want to tell them that we're in the 10th and that we're in the 10th step and that we're here. Why does it have to be me? Like, I could see the struggle in her delivery on her video. And so I guess what I was really surprised about was that nobody else could see the struggle. Mm-hmm. Like, nobody else could see that conflict within her. Yeah. So there was that one part that I was like, come on, people, where's your empathy? Like, if you have been living in empathy, you would be able to see that. You would be able to see the struggle clearly. Okay. And then the other thing I want to mention is just this like weird silliness. Like, well, she's not talking about the World Economic Forum, and she's not talking about the Rothschilds, and she's not talking about 4IR, Fourth Industrial Revolution, and she's not talking about all this tech stuff that we talk about and other people. And it's like, well, why would she? Why would she?
That's not her thing.
That's not what she does. Like, she talks about things from a journalistic, constitutional standpoint. That's what she does. She's like, here's the Constitution, and now it's been blown up. You know, that's what she does. Right. Like, she went to Guantanamo Bay to archive or to be a journalist or to...
She took a tour.
She took a tour of Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, they allowed her in.
Come on, you people. I mean...
They allowed her in, and she was there for other reasons to basically document it. And it's appalling.
What a horrifying, traumatic experience.
If you read her account, it is horrific.
It is horrific if you actually bother to read. I think she went in 2009, was it?
Something like that.
I forget. Pardon me if I'm wrong. But I'm just like, this person is already dealing with trauma. Not to mention, you know, the trauma of... Well, she's announced it publicly, so I don't think she would mind if I say it. A divorce, you know, meeting somebody new. She actually married her private eye. She needed to hire a private investigator because her divorce was so toxic. She has some health problems. Like, there's a lot of things in there that, and I guess what I'm trying to say is we all have to be aware that each of us are coming with our, knowledge base, you know, with our talents. We're each coming with our talents, and our talents may be different from what you want it to be, but it's still really important. It's still really important to pay attention to the fact that the Constitution, you know, is going away or has gone away. Yeah. And this person would be the expert, would be the foremost expert on understanding the steps to that and how that happened.
And this is coming from a couple of people who have who keep
We're
no value.
Anarchists.
Yeah, we don't take any value from the Constitution. We don't take any, you know.
But we value what she brings to the table.
Yeah.
Like, that's, you know, and of course her own personal situation too. You don't know what people are going through. You don't, like today, you don't know that yesterday I had a concussion all day. You don't know that. You don't know that I fell literally on my head. I was on my head for down the stairs because I fell, you know, and it was and suffered serious trauma and contusions and bruising.
Well, and you still are. I mean,
and pain. Yeah, I'm still like, but you know, so you don't know where people are coming from. You don't know what their backgrounds are. So if we could all just try to remember that we're all human beings, you know, not one person is going to come to the table with, hey, look, I have the inside scoop to what Klaus Schwab is saying at the World Economic Forum, and I know all about the tech stuff and all about the human capital market and all that. Oh, and plus, let me pull the Constitution out of my back pocket. You're not going to find one person with this, gigantic, I mean, you might, and if you do, send them our way. We would love to watch them. But with this gigantic, well-rounded, deep knowledge of things, each person is going to come to the table with their talents.
And that's what we like about our community here, with through Book of Hours, the people who are our patrons and
especially
people, and as Julie calls them, our team, as well as the people who we are in dialogue with on Facebook and other platforms, Twitter. We value that each one of you brings your specific bit of information or interest. We had a conversation with a woman in North Carolina, and there's a lot of things that we cross over with, and there's a lot of things that we're not anywhere near each other on, but we find that common ground and find a way to work together to get information and diagnose what's going on in the world right now, and delivering it to you, but also giving you that resource then that you can check that out and decide for yourself.
Oh, you just really quickly about Guantanamo Bay. People might go, well, why the heck did she go to Guantanamo Bay? Because Obama, if you remember, Obama had promised to close it. And so within 6 months, I think, of that promise, she was like, well, you gonna close it? Right. It's a violation of human rights. It's a violation of the Geneva Convention. Are you gonna close it? And so when he didn't, I guess it was 6 months after his installation that she decided to get on a small plane and go see it. Now, she was with other people, but,
And she went as a Democrat, too, right? So, she was part of the she was part of the party.
Holding his feet to the fire.
Right, holding his feet to the fire. And she still does to this day, yeah.
What did he do after she did that? He put her on a fucking no-fly list. She was flying sometime later in life, and the person at the gate or whatever, not the gate, but the ticket counter, when they were swiping the tickets, they were like, "Oh, you're on a no-fly list," and she's like, "I am." So it was just really. So that's what he did to her. He put her on a fucking no-fly list after that
because she
reported it as it is.
Yeah.
Torture.
Yeah. So one of the other things that she mentioned in her video was, so food shortages, power outages, and also, that we'll be seeing groups disrupting society. And we're already seeing that, right? So, we talk about Black Lives Matter, we talk about Antifa as being these organizations, and Extinction Rebellion as being these organizations that are basically proxy armies, okay? And we've said this before, and we're anti-fascists by nature, just in general. We are anti-fascists, but it took a long time for us to admit that Antifa wasn't what we thought it was.
Yes.
Just like a lot of people are having a hard time with understanding that BLM isn't what they think it is, okay?
Right, so there's a difference between being anti-fascist and Antifa.
Right.
There's a difference.
There's a difference. And so, these are organizations that are basically turning into proxy armies that are causing problems in society. And, let's look at this video.
And fuck the white people that built the system 7 times. You old dick.
So this was in Pittsburgh, and as you can see, they're just being obnoxious and being and this action that's going on is disrupting. You know, they're making a bad situation even worse, right? So, you know, Pittsburgh, like other cities, are doing things like, you know, not allowing you to go eat in restaurants inside, but you can eat outside. And these people were just trying to have some normalcy on their Labor Day weekend. And you know,
and it was an elderly couple too,
right? And so you know, they were probably
even more like
right. So they were attacking the elderly. They were probably calling them privileged and white supremacists and all that other shit that's going on along with that, right? And so you know, the problem again, like coming back to what we said before, is organizations like BLM, organizations or movements, social we have a dog in the background that's making a lot of noise. Social movement organizations like Antifa and Black Lives Matter, they're supported by corporations and by, you know, again, by the groups and organizations that are doing the initial oppression in the first place. Okay, so what we're seeing is a psyop in a psyop, right? And
that's something very common when you're dealing with the end of a democracy.
Right, a closed society, or when you're getting into fascism.
When a society is closing.
Right.
I mean, that's not to say that there are that there are no people within the Black Lives Matter movement that have good intentions.
Right.
We know some personally.
Yeah.
You know, so what we have is a social movement organization, or an SMO, that has chapters all over the world, and they're heavily funded, and what they do is they put up really slick marketing campaigns through social media. And so or they'll even show you over and over again on a loop a black person getting killed by a policeman, you know, and it'll really stir you up. It really stirs me up.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get out there with my
Right.
Black Lives Matter sign and advocate for, you know, these people who are being unjustly attacked and unjustly murdered.
Right.
But what it does is the social movement organization, there's a lot of money that's put into really co-opting your empathy and really exploiting your natural tendency towards empathy. You have a natural tendency towards empathy, especially this guy, you know? So naturally you're going to want to reach out and help someone and get involved in an organization that's like, look, we need to stop this bad stuff from happening. The problem is that there are other agendas in place. And with this particular video that we just showed you, just this little snippet of it, it kind of gives you a little bit of a clue. What the message there is telling you, you like to go outside and enjoy your holiday weekend and have a beer and some chips, or have, lunch with your spouse or your friends. Because Black Lives Matter is going to come along and fuck it up. Okay, so it makes you...
Because you're privileged. And
makes you, the
white
individual, go,
supremacist.
ooh, that doesn't make me comfortable. I better stay home.
Right.
I better stay home and not do anything. And that's what they want. That's what the goal is. The goal is to keep you locked down and inside. So the people that were doing the bad thing to the old couple, like they were taking the drink off the table and drinking it and being like, what are you going to do about it? They're the agitators. They're the ones that are... who knows? I heard another very well-known podcaster who also, like Naomi Wolf, used to work in the White House. Okay, she was the undersecretary under the first George Bush administration.
The undersecretary of HUD.
The undersecretary of housing. Sorry, under the first George Bush administration. She said that these kind of people get like untraceable Visa gift cards
as a
form of
payment.
As a form of payment. Now that's anecdotal, and I can't really prove it, so I don't want to be starting rumors. But that's the kind of thing we're looking at. We're looking at operatives that are meant to be seen on your social media feed. They're meant to be seen so that you will react to the message that is being sent to you, and psychologically it will it will say something to you. It will say, well, I don't want to deal with that, so I'm not going to go out. So what that does, by not going out and spending money at your local diner or at your local bar and having, some chips and a beer or whatever, it keeps your businesses from thriving, and it's a domino effect.
Right. Well, I think also along those same lines is, we're seeing a lot of leftist rhetoric and messaging coming out of organizations like BLM and Antifa, in their protests, and it's being disseminated out into the NGOs and other organizations online. We were finding examples of this when we were working on one of our sites, or one of our videos, and it was like all this rhetoric about white supremacism and how an organization like what they were was responding, how they were responding to that and that kind of thing, and it really fucks with your mind. But the other thing about it is that because they're using leftist words and language, they're doing two things, right? So on one hand, they're attracting the people like we're talking about who believe in the organization and don't realize what the actual agenda might be.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're attracting our comrades, and there's a lot of people that we know or follow who support this organization and go out there and do the protests along with them, and they are legitimate leftists. However, the agenda of organizations like BLM is not a leftist agenda. It's quite the opposite. It's a corporate agenda, and it gets people on the left to join them, but it also gets people who are against leftist ideology and forms of thought to say, oh my God, they're Marxist. Oh my God, we're being taken over by Marxists. This is, and so they get all reactionary and reactive, and so it gets people upset against other people, and it's disrupting society, and it's causing a lot of infighting. So we're not actually paying attention to what the real agenda is and who's behind it, and so it's a real psyop to break that up and
so rather
turn public opinion against these things, right? Yeah.
So rather than have like the establishment, and the establishment are the corporations that have basically taken over your government and taken over your society. Corporations have. They just have.
Yeah. We've been occupied.
We've been occupied. We're living in occupied territory. We have been for a while, and now we're starting to see the fallout from that because they have another plan for us. So rather than have them hire actual armies, where people are, riding around in tanks and with guns and in uniform, they're going to hire what's called a proxy army. And the proxy army is like those that they bring in to do their bidding. And they kind of brainwash them a little bit. And they think that they're doing something good, but they're not.
Or they're just outright CIA,
Or they're just outright CIA operatives, exactly.
Right.
I mean, So that's what we're dealing with, So we're dealing with corporations who are bringing in a proxy army. It's cheaper for them. It doesn't look as, it doesn't look like goose-stepping soldiers in the street trying to go after so-called privileged white people, all in the name of the poor oppressed black person.
Right.
It looks a little bit cooler than that. I mean, if I was 20-something and saw this kind of action going on and all the movie theaters were closed and I couldn't go to a concert and I can't go to a park and I can't go to a museum and I can't go to a library and I can't do anything else, and this thing is, you see a bunch of cool hip kids getting together with signs and the energy is good, I would I would be a part of it because, we're social animals.
Right.
So if you've noted, Cory Morningstar said in one of her tweets, which we stole and used for Greta sales, activism is the new sport for the bourgeoisie.
Right.
And it's true. You get a lot of these kids who are really bored. They're kind of privileged. They can't go to college because schools are closed. Schools have been closed. Now schools are opening up again. But, they can't go to libraries. There's no after-school programs. They don't want to sit on a Zoom call and do their ballet lessons. You know, they want to be around other people, so they go join a Black Lives Matter protest.
Yeah.
You know, and it's an indoctrination, and they're the proxy army for the establishment. You know.
So the other fallout that we're seeing from this, you know, and as I was mentioning, the whole leftist dialogue and usage, is that it turns public opinion against, you know, anti-fascists because of Antifa. Because you always hear people, you know, railing against Antifa, and you know, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, I get it, but they don't do it for the reasons that we are against, you know, that we don't follow Antifa. They are saying it because, you know, it's this reactionary take on the situation. And
it's like a Psyop and a Psyop.
Yeah, you know, but it gets people like thinking that way, that, you know, oh my God, the Marxists are coming in, or the anarchists. And so right now we're seeing a backlash against anarchists from the Trump administration, and we're seeing things on Facebook, which is this is another weird psyop that's going on, is that all the anarchist groups that we follow, or their media people in the anarchist space, are saying, you know, Facebook is attacking anarchists, they're taking down anarchist pages and sites, and, you know, et cetera, but I haven't noticed that that's actually happening. But people are afraid that it's happening, and so, you know, it's,
one
again,
anarchist was taken down.
One? Okay.
Well.
Oh, well, okay, so that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And actually, there was an anarchist who was taken down, quite literally, and that was the death of David Graeber, who we've had problems with. We love him, but we also have had, you know, we've taken issue with some of his positions on things, which, you know, the thing is, though, it's like you can't get one, you know, any...
No one's perfect.
Well, you get two anarchists in a room and you get three opinions, right?
Right, exactly. So, you know, there's a lot of... there were quite a few things, especially as he, you know, got more and more into whatever he was getting into the...
well, the whole thing in Seattle.
Yeah.
He was supporting that, and we knew that was just a bullshit.
The Chaz.
Yeah.
So that was a psyop. That's not real. You know what that is a part of sustainable development. So to clear out, you know, all of Seattle, shut down the local police area in this particular area to move in like smart cities and smart cops. You know, that kind of thing. That's what that's about. Surveillance.
And you know, and so he was supporting that, and we're
so
like,
he didn't understand, you know, that there's a whole other thing, which you all know. Our audience is very much aware of 4IR and sustainable development goals and Agenda 2030 and Agenda 2050.
But at the same time, the book's over there. But at the same time, we really appreciate it. In fact, we used a quote from his book Direct Action in our Quarantine Tyranny video towards the end, to talk about, you know, how we can, you know, build new societies, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, and it's a big ass book, but we took a quote out of a specific chapter, and you know, and Julie and I, we feel like he might have been, you know, his death was very mysterious. It was like he blood poisoning or something.
So he had internal bleeding.
Okay.
And based on some tweets, they're still investigating the cause of the internal bleeding.
Right.
But it's, you know, he just got married a year ago to an artist, and it's just so unfair, you know, and it's just so wrong. And we lost a good one there, despite the fact that my very last tweet from him was like, would you just stop that? Like, he was actually... So I tweeted his, like, entourage of fans, of some of them, who are these very privileged, like... academic types who have gone through, like, you know, they've got, like, many PhDs and all this, and I'm just like, oh my God, you know. I never had that kind of opportunity or that meritocracy. I never had that privilege.
No.
And I was just like, I wasn't respecting them at all. And he was... The last tweet that... you know, he sent me was like, that's not nice, or something like that. He was just like, you know. I was like,
But
sorry.
Julie was actually very moved when she heard the news, and she read on her Thursday readings. She read from a chapter from but then also a passage from Direct Action.
Right.
And,
So because this is on YouTube, every Thursday on the Book of Hours Facebook page, I go live at 3:00, and I read a passage from the book which is a Russian dystopian novel that Brave New World was based on. It's really interesting. Everybody is referred to as numbers. So, like he said, I read a passage from like I normally do, and then I also read a passage from Direct Action, the big giant book that he wrote.
Right.
And when we told him when we told him that we read his book, he was like, "You didn't use it to as a doorstop."
Right, exactly.
I mean,
He was surprised because he's like, "Wow, that's a big ass
That's
book.
a really-
You actually read it?"
Yeah, most people don't read
Truth
it.
be told, I mean, I read the one chapter, and but I've read around.
No, you've
other
read
areas.
a lot of it.
Yeah, I have read around.
You've read it. You've read
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Well, not
Not the whole-
cover to cover.
Not covered.
Yeah.
See, too honest.
Yeah. Well,
not
okay,
honest
but
over here.
at the same time, though, so with all this rhetoric that's that's anti-anarchist coming from the Trump administration, and these seeming attacks coming from, we felt very hinky about his death because of that. We feel like there's a lot of attacks going after the left. Now, let me explain something to you. Those of you who may not know who we are. There's a lot of people coming out, and I have this as a note, maybe this should be the next thing. A lot of people are out there saying, "Oh, this is Marxist takeover, and this is a leftist takeover, and blah 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 blah."
You
blah.
wish.
You wish. The left is very the leftist, the hard left is a very fractured, factionalized world. Okay. Anarchists don't get along with Marxists, and anarchists don't get along with anarchists, and Marxists have their different factions and their different tendencies, okay? So it's a very factionalized world.
Yeah.
And for the left to get organized enough to take over the United States is a joke.
Right.
It's an absolute joke, and I keep getting these things on my feed, like people direct message me like,
it's
Marxism in our educational system, and postmodernism is ruining the world, and it's like, come on.
No, there's no $1 trillion corporation behind Marxism.
No.
When there is, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
But right now there isn't.
So no, it's not Marxism. Yes, it's capitalism. And we make these assertions in our videos, and people are like, you can't say it's about capitalism when all you want it to be is about capitalism. And it's like, but what we're talking about is actually capitalism. What we're talking about is a new form of slavery that's coming out. And the only people who are behind slavery in the past are the same people that are, and that's the capitalists. Those are people who buy other people to make money from. Okay,
Right. That's called human capital.
and that's human capital markets, and that's what we're facing. And
That's what we're in. Yeah.
And we've heard people talk about this from the right and from the left. Okay, so it's it's true. It is capitalism. Okay, and we feel that this whole attack on the left is misguided, because what's happening is that there is dialogue and there is rhetoric being put out there to make it look like the fucking left is attacking the world, and it isn't.
Right, because the term "the common good" comes out of Marxism and collectivism, right?
Common good comes
Or-
out of democracy. Yeah, no, it comes out of the idea of liberal democracy.
Okay.
So it's an old term.
But it's being co-opted because I know that very recently in Ireland, the constitution has been rewritten so that private property is now open for the common good, or they're introducing this idea of property being open for the common good. It has to, of course, pass all the correct.
But this is
chimes.
But this is also after the theft of the commons. The actual commons, common lands, and common spaces are being taken away and privatized. So, we're getting it from both sides.
Yeah.
And it's all being directed from a very corporatist, very capitalist point of view.
So that's something that, we're never going to stop saying.
Yeah.
That is what it is. There's a lot of money behind all the shit that's going down right now, there's a lot of money there.
Right.
Money is making this thing go. Money
Right.
is what's grabbing your rights. Money is what's, forcing a mask on you. Money is what's doing all of this, changing the way that you exist as a human being. Money is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Capitalist agenda, and even beyond money is this lust for control and the lust for power over individuals with individual freedoms.
Right. Absolutely.
That's what's behind it, not Marxism.
Right. Now, speaking of fascists and people who want to control, we feel that something's going to go down possibly. Okay, this is a possible scenario with the upcoming election. We feel that
Right.
there's two possible scenarios, and coming back again to the Naomi Wolf video where she was like talking about Trump holding up in the White House and the vote going south and stuff. What we're seeing, we feel like we're going to see, is a repeat of the election in 2000, where there was a vote that was up for contention. And personally, I feel that Trump will be in the Gore position and that Biden will be in the W position. Basically,
if you remember,
yeah.
that's 19 years or 20 years ago.
It is 20 years ago.
There are people that may not know what you're talking
Right,
about.
and-
So give a little history
Well,
lesson.
a little
know
history.
we're
I don't
gonna-
have a lot of time for
Well,
this.
it's
but-
okay. We're going to end up
but-
going over, but it's Labor Day. So,
Yeah. So what I would say is, Wikipedia has its issues, but look it up on Wikipedia. But basically, there was a contention in the election in 2000, where Gore was he was leading, and then suddenly he was losing, right? And it appeared that the Bush campaign was stealing the election. And there were problems with voting in Florida. They talking about hanging chads and things like that, where they would, in the voting machine, they would punch the cards, and the chads were the pieces of paper that were punched out, and they weren't completely, so this was a psyop that was on the side. Basically, it went through the courts. It went to the Congress. What is that? The voting, what do they call that? It's part of the way we vote. We don't actually, our vote isn't actually counted. It goes to the, I can't think of the word. I'm sure we'll put it in the okay.
Yeah.
So, it went to this other group to decide on the election, and it went to W. Now, we feel that, the 2000 election is probably going to be on repeat for 2020. Mm-hmm. And in this case, it'll be Biden that's going to be appearing to steal the election. We feel that the Biden-Harris ticket is a means and a way to get Harris into the White House. And we've been asserting this for a long time. We put out a video about, what was that called?
It was called The Long Road.
The long game, or something
right,
like that.
The long game
road
to Kamala.
Yeah, about how they were going to try to find a way to get Kamala Harris into the White House through impeaching Trump and things like that. But we still feel like that. So we feel like because Biden, there's a couple things going on here. We feel that through the push for global governance, that the importance of the president, the role of the president of the United States is going away with the rise of power in big city mayors and governors, and regionalization that's taking place. We feel like the power of the president is going away, presidency is going away, and that the Democrats put up the shittiest fucking candidate they could come up with in the form of Joe Biden, because they didn't necessarily want to be in power. That's one scenario. The other scenario that we feel it could be a possibility is that they want Kamala Harris to be president, and that they're going to try to steal the election through these other ways, fucking with the election. The whole thing with like voting by mail is one of those things.
Yeah. So
and that Biden, because he's considered all dementia Joe, that they're going to declare him as being unfit for the role of the president, and then put Kamala into place.
Right. So it's really convenient. It's really convenient that Joe Biden's wife is a doctor. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of fuckery and a lot of rigging and a lot of bullshit, like we saw in 2000.
Right.
And he left out a really important factor in this. Apparently, I didn't know this until he told me a couple days ago, but apparently for 2 months we had no president.
Well, there was no decided president. There, yeah. I mean,
In 2000. So
yeah. So I mean, it went for a while. I mean, it went.
Oh, electoral college.
Electoral college.
Is that
Yeah,
what you're
that's it.
talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah.
So you could tell we're like not at all involved in representational democracy.
And this was 20 years ago too, and I was a
know.
Green Party person, so
Yeah, so we're like-
But
So that's what's going to happen. So
right. Oh,
we're
and
gonna-
then they tried to blame the Green Party candidate who was.
was it Cynthia McKinney?
No, it was before him. Before her. Nader.
Oh, Nader.
Yeah, right. So then they tried to blame
Who I met.
Nader
Nice guy.
for Al Gore's loss as well, right? Which he had nothing to do with it. He hardly had any votes that would have caused that issue. But
was that the 2008 election?
No, that
or-
was 2000.
That was 2000.
That was 2000.
Because he did run again. Did he run
He
again?
did run again. Yeah.
In 2008, right. Anyway, against
2004. Yeah.
2004?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Against Obama.
And then he probably did it again in 2008. But anyway, against Obama, that was Cynthia McKinney.
Cynthia McKinney was
Yeah.
against Obama.
Right. But by then, Nader was in another party. He wasn't in the Green Party anymore.
Oh, okay.
So, anyway, these are possibilities, but we know that there's going to be something hinky going down with the election this year.
Right.
We don't know what it's going to be. These are possibilities, and these are scenarios that we have discussed and laid out. If we're right, that would be pretty fucked up.
Well, I mean, I think what you're going to get is, like I said, a lot of fuckery like we had in 2000, and it was just a complete fiasco.
Mm-hmm.
And Al Gore played his part very well.
Mm-hmm.
He was part of the the team to get Bush installed. You can't get Bush had to be president during 9/11.
Right.
He just had to be. That was the plan all
Because
along.
of,
Just like Trump had to be in charge of the country during this.
Right.
Okay? That's the plan. It's
Right.
been the plan all along. They have their plans laid out, decades before.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm sorry, Trump supporters, but he actually didn't win.
yeah. No, he's
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, he's part of the plan. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
So he's either going to continue to play his role quite nicely in the interest of the establishment or the corporate governance, and the further erosion of our civil liberty. Well, they're all gone. So
Yeah.
so what's going to happen after now that they're all eroded,
Right.
or it's going to be Kamala, who's basically a cop.
Yeah. The
and
police state will increase.
so the
greatly.
police, the police state will increase no matter what. It's just
But it'd be even more severe.
how quickly.
Right.
So I think if we had had Hillary, we would be in a much more totalitarian position than we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but the reason I think that we're not as far along in dystopia or fascism. I mean, we're in fascism, but we're not really seeing the effects of it like the way we could, is because I don't think the Trump supporters are really going to let that happen as quickly as
Yeah.
So it's basically like this. If we get Trump again, Eric Prince, who, basically was behind the first instance in the Iraq War.
Mhm.
Okay,
Right.
He's-
With Blackwater.
Blackwater mercenary, cracked the heads of the people who were at Katrina. Okay,
Mhm.
bad guy, super bad guy. Okay, if we get Trump again, Eric Prince will go to him and say, I want this, I want that, I want this, and Trump will be like, okay, yeah, fine, whatever, you can do whatever, go over there, you can have a little piece of the pie, okay, whatever. But if we get Kamala, it's going to be like this. Eric, what can you bring to me? Eric, I want you to do this. I want you to do that. I want you to crack the skulls of people not wearing masks. I want more, I want this to be a prison planet. I want,
Yeah.
that's what I want. So that's what you're going to get. So, it's either you're going to get it with Kamala, where he's going to be at the front of the line, because you have to think of it this way. Everybody's standing in line wanting their piece of the pie. Okay, so right now Eric Prince is probably in the middle or towards the back of the line if Trump is in charge. And finally, when he comes up to the front and Trump's like, okay, how much do you want? What's your bottom line? And he scratches off a check and hands it to him. What if we get Kamala? She's going to pull Eric Prince to the front of the line, and she's going to say, you're going to get all the money, all the power, all the weapons, all the whatever you need.
Whatever you need to crack heads.
Whatever you need to crack heads, whatever you need to surveil people, to find a reason to crack heads. So
the way we describe our thinking around this is that, we feel like both sides are working together.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's just that they're both fighting at the top about, basically control for the top, for the command or the control. They're fighting for control of the thing, even though they're both working together. And I describe it as like basically two factions in a corporation duking it out to see who can, control the direction of that corporation. Yeah. And that's basically what it is.
Right. And
that's
so
basically what it is.
In this scenario that he just said, two corporations, two factions.
No, two factions within.
Two factions within a corporation duking it out. Where do you fit into that? You don't. You don't fit into it.
Yeah.
You just don't.
And it doesn't matter how you vote. I'm sorry to say. Again, we're going to advocate for a no vote.
A no vote.
No vote for no confidence.
Right. You have no confidence in
You do have a vote, and that's a no confidence vote.
Right. Your government's been occupied. So
stay away from the polls.
Right. And one last point that I was beginning to make, and then I didn't finish it.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. Which was that people have asked me, wow, this is all really great information, but wait a minute, how do you get from Trump to Kamala again in like
2 seconds.
In 2020? What was that again? Okay. Joe Biden is apparently dementia. Now, I've seen both sides. I've seen videos of him where he is rambling like an idiot, and then I've seen incredibly astute
and
lucid videos. And so I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm being played here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something's going on. But the narrative, I think, is that they want you to believe that he is incompetent. And his wife will come out and confirm that.
If he wins.
She's a doctor.
Yeah.
If he wins, she's a doctor. She'll confirm that. And there will be a couple of months of like, oh no, Joe, it's touch and go. He better, and eventually he's going to need to pull back, and he's going to need to go rest and, and not be president, which means that's how you get your first black female president. She's not really black.
She's the ultimate id poll candidate.
Yeah. So that's how you get her. That's how you go from Trump to Kamala with nobody really having to vote for Kamala.
Right.
That's how you get it.
Yeah. So
So
okay. So that's a real shit show.
Yeah, it is a real shit show, but there is one thing we should probably talk about.
Well, we talked about that.
This one right here.
You want to talk about that? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Because one thing that the Trump supporters here in Pennsylvania are very much against the tyrant who's running the state of Pennsylvania.
Right.
And so are we. And so for that, we have a common belief.
Affinity,
we have a common affinity. We have an affinity with them. It's all about power grabs. It's all about violating the state's constitutions. Mandates are not law. It's a lot of shaming. Billions of dollars have been put into posters and signage and really cute commercials on Facebook pages and on I'm imagining on your television here in Pennsylvania. There is just, it's all marketing. There's nothing to justify his extension of the emergency order, which he extended until December 1st.
Right.
There's a lot of people out there complaining that their governor has extended their emergency orders to October 1st or November 1st. Well, we got it worse.
He went full 90 days.
He went full 90 days. And it's going to be 90 days.
And 90 days.
And 90 days and 90 days.
Right.
It's going to be in perpetuity.
Right.
So finally, a group of people got together and filed a lawsuit against him. And So that is what we are
And
happy
you said
about.
here the AFLC.
AFLC. So
yeah.
So it's the I just had it up.
I know
of
it's on
course.
my it's on my browser and the on my phone, which we're recording with, so you can't really see it. But
No, it's so the American Freedom Law Center. So do we have any affinity towards the American Freedom Law Center, being that we're lefty,
yeah.
non-voting?
They tend to be they're on the right side of politics.
Not really. We don't really have an affinity
Yeah.
with them, but we do appreciate the fact that they have filed a lawsuit against this tyrant, who's causing a lot of unnecessary pain and death in households right now
Yeah.
and throughout Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and he's
So-
one of the worst of
He
the
is.
next to
Cuomo.
and
And
Newsom. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's one of he's that evil triad, I guess.
Right. We're going to talk about the governors and their PACs in the next video we do. We were going to call it multi-state coalitions, but we're going to call it deconstruction, because it literally is a dismantling and a deconstruction of the process by which your local regions are run. It
Yeah.
really is.
Your states.
Your
and so it's
states.
basically a dismantling of the democratic process and democracy in itself.
Right.
So we'll see how, so we'll be putting that out in a little while, but in the meantime, keep an eye out for other things.
Yeah.
And I guess finally, we can talk about that last thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll end on
All right,
that.
So this time of year, it's Labor Day weekend, and usually it happens a week earlier, but this is the time of year for Burning Man. And COVID seems to have fucked up Burning Man quite a bit. Yeah, we're not fans.
Not fans.
We are not fans whatsoever. However, in this video we're going to show you, we are really happy to see this video. They have returned to their roots and gone to a place in San Francisco called Ocean Beach, which is where the Burning Man celebration first started happening. It didn't start in the desert. It started in San Francisco on Ocean Beach, which is actually a federal parkland. And they would have the burning figure out on a barge out on the water, and they'd celebrate on the beach. So again, we're not fans of those folks, but we support the fact that they were like
That they got together.
Yeah, that they got together and they said, "Fuck COVID, we're gonna party."
Right. And some of them do have masks on, whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact is that, this is a tradition that's been going on for 20 years. And it got...
Or more, yeah.
Right. And
Yeah, longer.
and
Probably 25.
yeah, and the fact is that, so it started out on a beach in San Francisco, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it got more and more organized, and then celebrities
And
got
really corporate,
involved, and
yeah.
really corporate, and it's supposed to be this 2-week experience or something where it's very cathartic, and you have an image of the man, and you burn the man so that you're burning away like the capitalist tendencies that have, framed your life and shaped you not to be the person that you're supposed to be or whatever, which, so you get a lot of these kind of voodoo, like really sort of flighty, flaky, privileged,
New Age and stuff,
New Age. Like they always have a lot of money. It got to the point where Burning Man, which was something really authentic, was co-opted and turned into something really unattainable for regular people, like $1,000 tickets. I mean, you could just,
Right.
so, and it became, it actually, and then what happened was it turned into a thing like where JP and I would be like, is it Burning Man weekend yet? Are they leaving yet?
Right,
Have they left yet?
Are all the people we don't like in the city gone?
Yeah,
to
all the
desert?
people that we can't stand in the
San
city.
Francisco, the weather gets really nice at the same time in the end of summer, and so the last part of August and the early part of September, so right around Labor Day, the weather in San Francisco gets really awesome, but at the same time, all the burners leave town, and it's like, wow, it's nice, isn't
It's
it?
really nice.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
But but they've returned to their roots, and so COVID offered us the opportunity to follow our path to being working artists. It also allowed Burning Man to return to its roots, and along with that, though, they got attacked.
Yeah.
Like we do. We get attacked, and like they got attacked as well by, what was it though?
MSN.com.
MSN.com.
That called them reckless and selfish.
Yeah.
People going to the beach and listening to music and dancing.
Yeah.
I mean, kids, right?
Yeah.
So I don't like Burning Man. I don't like what it became. I don't like that it became a celebrity fest, and it lost all of its, original intent and meaning. But so I don't like what it became over the years, but I do feel, that solidarity with those kids that just wanted to come out and have an experience, because everything else has been taken away. If you don't want them to be reckless and selfish, then maybe don't take away other things like concerts or
Skate
libraries
parks.
or skate parks or whatever.
Right.
You can't have it both ways.
Well, they want it both ways. And it's an anti-life movement to take away the humanity in life, and it's just sick what's going on. It really is. And to shame people for wanting to go out and celebrate on the beach during nice weather and have fun that's sick. So MSN,
there's
fuck
so
you.
much about this that is very sick.
Yeah. All right.
And we're not talking about a virus.
Anyway, that was a real downer. But did we roll the video yet? Let's go out with the video.
Yeah, we'll go out with the video.
Okay. All right. Well, have fun burning down the man and dancing to the music, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining. Book of Hours is determined to remain an essential platform that offers a creative interpretation for lockdown skeptics and experts who have been censored by mainstream press. Thanks to your donations, we can carry on doing this essential work as working artists. These big issues of the day are vital and need to be heard. So please share our videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel, make a one-time donation on our PayPal page, but most importantly, please be a part of our team on our Patreon page. Go to patreon.com/bookofhours and hit the blue button titled Become a Patron. Thank you.